In today's hint, we're going to talk about calculating opportunity cost, and I'm going to talk about two different methods. These are just kind of my terms for them. And the first is called the chunk method, and the second is called the per unit method. And which method you're going to use in a problem will be clear to you if you read the question carefully, and we'll give you examples of these in this hint. I'll be using the data from one of your homework problems, and this is the annual production possibilities of two countries, Japan and the United States, each producing various combinations of two different goods, cloth and wheat. Now we can see that as Japan gives up cloth, it gets additional wheat. And as the United States gets additional cloth, and now we're going in the opposite direction from the bottom of the chart to the top, the United States must give up some of its wheat. So let's try a couple of problems, starting with an opportunity cost problem that uses the chunk method. Here's the question. For Japan, what is the opportunity cost of producing the first 200 tons of wheat? Since this question is asking for the opportunity cost of this whole combined amount, the first 200 tons of wheat, then we know we're looking at a chunk method calculation. So let's look at how we answer it. First of all, it's for Japan, so we want to look at the data for Japan. Secondly, we want to understand where do we see the first 200 tons of wheat. Well, when we start at 0, and then 100, and then 200, it's this quantity from 0 to 200, the opportunity cost of this that we're looking for. So our next step is to calculate what it is we have to give up in order to get this initial, in this case, 200 units of wheat. We go back to the data for Japan, and we find that as they gain 0 to 100 to 200 wheat, they are giving up cloth. They started at 1,000, they go to 800, and then to 600. Because in order to produce 200 units of wheat, at that point, Japan is only able to produce 600 units of cloth. So we take the 1,000 minus 600, and we find that it is 400 units of cloth. And that's our answer to the question. This chunk of 200 wheat has cost us 400 cloth. Our next question is going to use the per unit method of calculating opportunity cost. And this question is for the U.S. What is the opportunity cost of wheat? Now, the question may or may not put in the parenthetical statement in terms of cloth. If it's not there, it's implied. If you have two goods and we ask for the opportunity cost of one, that's always going to be in terms of the other good. So this is where we'll be using our formula, given up over gained. Using the data for the United States, what we see is when they begin to produce wheat, going from 0 to 200, they have to give up 100 units. So filling in our equation, given up over gained equals, on the bottom we have gained 200 minus 0 wheat, or a total of 200 wheat. And we have given up 500 minus 400, or 100 cloth. This reduces to 1/2 cloth per unit of wheat. So the final answer to our question is 1/2, or 0.5, bolts of cloth. This is the per unit opportunity cost of wheat for the United States. Also note that in this question, if the United States had gone from 200 to 400, 400 to 600, 600 to 800, 800 to 1,000, each time they gained 200 tons of wheat, they were giving up 500 to 400, 400 to 300, etc., always 100 units of cloth. Therefore, there is actually a constant per unit opportunity cost in the data for the United States. Let's look at Japan, by the way, and we will see a similar situation where every time they gain 100 units of wheat, they give up 200 units of cloth. So this is also a constant opportunity cost per unit. For additional practice, why don't you calculate the per unit opportunity cost of wheat for Japan? You could also calculate the per unit opportunity cost of cloth in terms of wheat for both countries for practice.